Welcome at Enjoy Your Money with
Jaco Quadrat. Prof, it's a privilege to be back with you in the studio again. And I must say, this whole series we had on financial behavior and biases has been so enlightening to me, because the biggest thing that I take from this, I actually realize and understand why my golf game is so inconsistent. I've got and you can make millions out of this, selling this advice, I promise you.
Okay.
Yeah, I realize I don't have a swing problem. I always knew it. My swing is really close to perfect, but I have a behavioral bias problem.
Your body just doesn't behave as it should.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Jaco, that explains quite a lot about your golf skills. It's almost like my golf skills. If people ask me if I play golf, I tell them I have a set of clubs.
You still have it, Prof.
I still have it. It's buried under a lot of dust. So, Jaco, over the past few months, we have discussed more than 20 behavioral biases.
Can you name them out of the top of your head, Prof?
Not all 20. Not all 20, but there was things like loss aversion, confirmation, anchoring, overconfidence, mental accounting. Hopefully, some of the listeners remember them. And Jaco, we are now sort of closing off our series.
Yeah, and Prof, after discussing each bias, we said, what is the things that you should be aware of? How can it impact you? But now we're going to look more in general, and today specifically, we're going to touch on how does it impact investments and your investment decisions. So what is the things that you need to be aware of as an investment, and how does these biases play a role?
Jaco, yes, and we are going to look at these biases from what you now have named my friend, Michael Pompian's behavioral investor types. And Jaco, I've seen it so many times. You have two children that have an equal inheritance. Both get the same advice, but 20 years later, there's a remarkable difference between the investments of the two. And the only difference is what was their behavior in that.
Prof, time for our Bible verses today.
Jaco, I'm going to leave the difficult one for you today. So my Bible verse is from Proverbs 19, verse 20. Listen to advice and accept discipline, and at the end you will be counted among the wise.
Prof, that is very wise words. Mine from the same wise person, but in a different book, Ecclesiastes 11, verse 2. And we had it before here, invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. Yeah, it's always, and we talk about it quite a lot, all these wisdoms from the Bible. I mean, you're saying something like behavioral finance and biases is a new concept in the science, but when you read the Bible, there's so many things that actually Solomon addressed 2,000-3,000 years ago.
Yeah, perhaps he just didn't have the names to call it.
Yeah, maybe he had, but nobody understood it or something like that. But Prof, on that note, let's take a quick music break, and after the break, we'll discuss in detail how these biases impact investors.
Welcome back after the break. And Jaco, we are now going to talk about the behavioral investor types that Michael Pompian set out in one of his books.
Prof, I just have to say, no, the listeners will not believe me, but we actually prepare for the sessions, and we have some script notes and cheat notes in front of us. But if the listeners were to see these notes today in front of us, I think any student will get heart palpitations if they see this, because I don't know how you're going to explain something as complicated as this over the air, over the radio, without our listeners having access to seeing what you're trying to explain. So good luck. I'm keenly listening on the radio.
You are thinking very little of my explanation power.
No, I must say this is really next level.
Okay, so let me try.
Okay, Prof.
Jaco, there's two things that Michael Pompian look at when he classifies investors. Basically, are they passive or active investors? So do they just want to sit back, wait for somebody else to make the decisions? They just see what happens. That's the passive investor. Or do they want to be hands-on, pick the investments, have a good say in the investment? So that's the first two things he looks at.
And Prof, can I just have a quick view here? And I think we should not confuse this now with active and passive investing.
No,
it's not
no,
exactly
no.
the same thing. But I think majority of people out there, and this is just gut feel, will probably fall into the passive category. I think most people would not want to be too involved. I'm just thinking very general. Maybe I'm totally wrong.
Jaco, I tend to agree with you.
I mean, you get persons like, I almost want to say like us, that's more nerdy and like the finances and like to be in control. And there's a lot of other people like that as well. But I just think the general person out there is not too much interested. And maybe I'm thinking my wife, your wife, they will fall into the passive side.
But Jaco, I also just want to say here that the listeners must now remember, this is also, we are not only talking about share investments. This is in any regard. If you are into property or having your own business, or even actively just be involved in managing your surplus cash in a money market or something like that, that's also part of this. So not only shares. So that's the first thing. Then Jaco, he looks at their risk profile. Do they have a low risk profile, so they don't like risk that much, or more moderate, or are they people that will just make investments for the thrill of it, are a very high risk profile? And then Jaco, he says, and the listeners must now try to identify themselves. So the first question is, are you a passive or an active investor? So Jaco, where did you say you fall?
I will be active, and I have to play along with, let's say, my wife involved. She will be passive.
Okay, so let's look at you and your wife.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's first go and have a look at the passive investors. So Jaco, for your wife, do you think her risk profile is low or more medium?
I think somewhere in between, probably medium.
Okay. So, because if she is a passive investor with a low profile, she will be called a preserver. And we will talk about the preservers further on. But now that she's a medium risk profile and a passive investor, she will be called the follower.
Okay.
And we'll discuss that later on. So that's passive. Can be either a preserver or a follower. Now, if you are active, Jaco, your risk profile, will that be medium or high?
No, definitely medium, not high.
I think we have both realized that we are not so open for risk as we think.
Yeah, no. And as we age, and there's some scientific backing for that as well, your actual risk tolerance decreases with time.
Very true. So, Jaco, if you are an active investor with a medium risk profile, you are most probably an individualist.
Okay.
I'm just thinking of you, just the name
it sounds right.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
And if you are an active investor with a high risk profile, you are called an accumulator.
I don't like that word, I have to say, because looking at this, I would like to be classified as an accumulator, and this is something else. But it's just a personal preference there.
And Jaco, what is interesting is that we talked about that during the break, is that from preserver, follower, individualist to accumulator, they are on a scale from fear to greed. So very much like our own money personalities.
Yes. So I think we must link it sometime.
At some stage, we are going to do that.
Yeah.
So, Jaco, let's talk about the four then.
Okay, let's start. The first one, preserver, and that, just to refresh our memories, that's the passive low-risk investor.
Yes. So, their basic orientation is that they are loss-averse and very deliberate in their decision-making. And, Jaco, their dominant bias types are emotional. because they fear losses, and that can make them unable to make decisions.
And what we've realized, just to recap again for the listeners, the emotional biases are the ones that are more difficult to manage compared
so
to the
much more
cognitive
difficult.
ones, because it's emotional, whereas cognitive is the way that we think.
So, Jaco, their most impactful biases, and we're not going to discuss the biases now. Again, the listeners will have to go back to our episodes, or
But you
visit
can
our
say
website.
you can say in one sentence what
We
it
can.
means.
Yeah, or you can go back to our website, www.jaco2.co.za, and go and listen again. But Jaco, their most impactful biases are loss aversion and status quo. And it's basically, I'm not taking a decision because I'm too afraid I'm going to make a loss. And status quo, I'll rather prefer it to stay the same.
Don't want to change
It's-
anything.
it's safe.
It's safe. That's what I'm comfortable with.
So, Jaco, their investing style is wealth preservation first. So they will first take a choice not to lose money, and then they will think about growth if they think about it.
Okay.
So we can see that their risk tolerance is generally lower than the average. So I was just wondering how many listeners out there fall in this category.
I think there are 4. I think it will be more than 25%. That's
You
my
think
view.
so?
I think so.
Okay.
I might be wrong.
I
have a
don't know.
clue.
We just guess now.
Yeah.
But okay, so Jaco, let's talk about the follower. So the follower, that's now the passive person with a moderate risk profile. They have their basic orientation is a general lack of interest in money and investing, and they typically desires direction when making financial decisions.
So they want some guidance. That's
like your wife and
yeah.
my wife.
Yeah, they don't want to make decisions on their own. They
No.
want some guidance.
So their dominant bias types are more cognitive.
And that's the way how we think about stuff.
Yes. And the most impactful biases are recency and framing, because they are listening to others. So what is being said recently, they will remember and want to apply that, and how you picture the frame to them will maybe persuade them to do a certain thing.
Okay.
And
I can see my wife here, I have to
And
say.
as the name says, they are followers. So they don't take the initiative. They look at what other people say, what other people do, what advice they get, and implement that.
And just to reiterate for the listeners, this is from a financial decision and investment perspective. That's not in general in life. It's purely from a financial perspective.
Yes. So they are more passive, and generally their risk tolerance level is lower than what they actually think it is.
Okay.
So almost like with us, we thought we were much more aggressive until we completed the questionnaires.
Yeah, and we have to make difficult decisions. Then we don't like to do it, where we can lose money.
Jaco, then the independent. Yeah, we can now analyze Jaco Barnard
and Jaco Fischer.
So, basic orientation, they are engaged in the investment process.
Okay, but just sorry, can we just refresh again the memories?
Yes.
That is that more active investor, want to be involved, but medium risk, not high risk.
Medium risk, yeah. So they are engaged in the investment process and opinionated on investment decisions.
Opinionated? Me never.
Their dominant bias type is also cognitive.
Also easier to do something about. That's the way how we think.
And their most impactful biases are confirmation and availability. So, Jaco, looking for information that support the
proof
decision
that I'm right.
You have taken. Yes. And those things that are more easily recallable and available in your mind, that's the more important things for you. And then their risk tolerance, generally above average, but not as high as the aggressive investors.
Okay. And then lastly, we have the accumulator. That is now also the active investor, but this is the person willing to take a bit more risk. Well, actually, not more risk, high risk.
Yes. So they are interested and engaged in wealth accumulation, and very confident in their investing ability.
Okay. I see signs there.
But their dominant bias type is emotional, and that's linked to that overconfidence and their desire to influence the investment outcomes.
I must say, I think we talked a lot about it, where the whole overconfidence and stuff. I think I realize I don't know anything. I won't admit it too easily,
But
but
at
I know
least-
that, and I actually know I can't control the markets. I'm not too emotional when it comes to markets.
Yeah. So, Jaco, their most impactful bias is overconfidence and illusion of control.
Especially the illusion of control. I think that's the dangerous one. Although the overconfidence as well. I think
Yeah.
they can do it better than the advisor.
And perhaps with the overconfidence and the illusion of control, there comes the high risk profile. Because if you have so much confidence, you perceive it as lower risk. So, Jaco, that was our behavior investor types. And after the break, we are going to give each of these some advice on how to manage themselves.
Okay, so stick around and wait for that.
Welkom terug na die breek. Jaco, ons praat vandag oor beleggers tipes uit die gedragsfinansies oogpunt.
Ja, prof is 'n mond vol. En ons het 4 kategorieë, 4 persoonlikhede, hoe gaan ons dit noem, geïdentifiseer as dit by beleggingstipes kom. En ons gaan elkeen eintlik net raad gee, bietjie raad gee. Wel prof, ons sê ons gee nie raad op hierdie program nie, maar so wat noem ons dit, praktiese advies, ek weet nie.
Ja, dis 'n moeilike een. Kom,
Okay.
Ons gaan maar net aan voordat ons dit 'n naam gee.
Ja, okay. So die eerste een het ons gesê is die preservers. Ons mooi vertaling daarvan is die behouers. Dis die persone wat nie wat passief betrokke is by hulle eie beleggings en wat nie hou van risiko nie.
Jaco, ja, en vir hulle wil ons eintlik vandag sê probeer bietjie fokus op die groter prentjie en nie in die tegniese detail nie, want jy kan so verstrengel raak in daardie detail dat jy eintlik, en dit is presies een van hulle biases, verlam raak en dan net by die status quo bly.
En aangesien hulle bang is vir verliese, ons het gepraat van die loss aversion, moet mens die langtermynvoordele van beleggings beklemtoon ten spyte van korttermyn wisselvalligheid. Eintlik prof behoort hulle eintlik nie hulle state te sien net
Ek wil nou net
elke
sê,
6 maande of een keer 'n
Moenie
jaar.
dit maak dit maksimum een keer 'n jaar oop en dan slaap jy sommer lekker. Jaco, en hulle moet seker maak dat wanneer hulle dan nou so adviseer of iemand het wat hulle bystaan, dat hulle maar tyd spandeer om daai persoon te leer ken en eintlik verhouding te bou, want dit is vir hulle belangrik. Hulle gaan nie sommer enige ou vertrou nie.
En ek dink baie belangrik dan is om vir hierdie persoon om hulle finansiële plan te koppel aan hulle gesin en toekomstige doelwitte. So ek wil amper sê die finansies 'n kleiner deel daarvan te maak en dis terug wat jy gesê het om 'n groter prentjie raak te sien.
Ja, Jaco, en hulle moet, ek wil maar sê, die vrymoedigheid neem om vrae te vra totdat hulle beter verstaan.
Prof, ek het nou weer onlangs daai boek gelees wat ons al hieroor gepraat het, oor die behavior gap. Ek dink dis die boek vir hulle. Hulle moet dit gaan lees.
Ja, sy. So, Jaco, dan het ons advies vir die volgers of die followers. Dis nou jou vrou en my vrou waarskynlik.
Passiewe of mense wat passief betrokke is, maar wat so 'n bietjie bereid is om meer risiko te neem.
Ja. So, Jaco, ek dink vir hulle wat daar die moeite werd kan wees is om jou regte risikotoleransie te verstaan en te weet wat die waarde van diversifikasie is.
Ja, en mense moet hulle ook eintlik aanmoedig om self besluite te neem en nie, en ek dink dis die meer belangrike deel om tendense te volg nie, om self 'n besluit te neem en te weet hoekom hulle dit gedoen het.
Of dan net ten minste 'n bietjie navorsing te doen, Jaco, en want onthou, hulle vooroordeele is meer kognitief. So hulle kan ooreed word met data, grafiek en sommetjies. So ons wil hulle eintlik ook aanmoedig, gebruik feite en data om jou ondersteuning of om jou aanbevelings te ondersteun en nie net bloot op grond van wat jy hoor of sien nie.
Ja, en ek dink weer eens moet die finansiële, dis 'n bietjie finansiële opleiding nodig en dit moet ook duidelik en eenvoudig wees. Weer eens, die behavior gap is my 'n mooi voorbeeld daarvan om dit op 'n eenvoudige manier daar te stel.
Jaco, ek dink nou net daaraan. dalk moet ons in 'n volgende reeks so 'n bietjie van hierdie boeke wat ons gelees het bespreek.
Ja, dit is ook iets sinvols om te doen. Dit gaan met jou motiveer om dalk die boeke te lees.
Ek het hom bestel vir my.
Is-
Jy sal nie
okay.
glo nie, hy kom.
Okay.
Dan die advies vir die onafhanklikes of die independents.
Prof, dis nou ons, dis die ouens wat meer aktief betrokke is by hulle finansies, maar wat nie so wat meer risiko neem, maar nie baie groot risiko nie.
Jaco, en daar weer eens, ons grootste vooroordele is kognitief, so ons kan regtig daarby baat deur opleiding en opvoeding. So tipies is ons die ouens wat moet gaan 'n paar boeke lees.
Maar ons dink ons het dit nie nodig soms nie, né,
Dis
Prof?
die probleem. Jaco, en dan net soos met die volgers moet ons verstaan van diversifikasie en om hierdie besluite wat ons neem bietjie krities te evalueer. Te gaan teruggaan en kyk, maar hoekom het ek 'n besluit geneem en is dit die redes waarom hy uitgewerk het of nie uitgewerk
Ja.
het nie?
As dit reg was dit lak, was dit goeie besluit en as dit verkeerd was ook, is dit swak besluit geweest of was dit net ongelukkig?
Definitief, Jaco, en dan om maar soos met die volgers ook ons aanbevelings met betroubare data en navorsing te ondersteun.
En dan Prof, die laaste kategorie, die accumulators of die versamelaars, die hoarders, ek weet nie. En dis die persone wat meer aktief betrokke is, maar wat nogal hou van risiko. En ons het gesê hulle uitdaging is emosionele vooroordele.
Ja, Jaco, so ek wil vir die accumulator sê, kry vir jou 'n betroubare adviseur of vriend of 'n kundige persoon met wie jy kan praat, wat ek wil amper sê net jou voete so bietjie op die grond kan hou.
Ja, wat kan ek wil amper sê teen jou opstaan, hè. Jy wil iemand hê wat nie net 'n ja-broer is nie, iemand wat jy 'n ingeligte redenasie kan hê oor goed.
Absoluut. Jaco, en dan om te gaan kyk na jou risikoblootstelling en dit te oorweeg en dan ek wil amper ook sê die langtermyn doelwitte in ag neem wat met 'n oormatige risikoprofiel ensovoorts verband kan hou. En dan veral wanneer jy jou gesin en jou geliefdes ook in ag neem, want baie keer is dit baie maklik om te sê ek gaan hierdie groot risiko's aangaan, ek kan dalk alles verloor, maar het ek mooi gedink aan wat die implikasies van die rondom my gaan wees.
Ja, ons kan nou afwyk van ons moet seker nie, maar dis hoekom dat jong mense makliker is om risiko's te neem. Maar as jy ouer is en al iets bymekaar gemaak het en jy afhanklik is, dan verander die proses of behoort die denkproses te verander. En dis nou waar sulke persone amper bietjie leiding nodig het.
Definitief. Jaco, en dan hierdie gaan nou so of ek het ons nog 'n paar minute, ek kan
nog so 'n minuut, Prof.
Okay,
Nee, as dit bietjie meer, ekskuus, ons het so 2 minute.
Ek wil net sê ek wil met hierdie afsluit en dit gaan die inleiding wees vir volgende week se episode. En dis dan Michael Pompian sluit dan af en dan sê hy tussen hierdie cognitive en emotional biases moet ons dan gaan kyk na die hoeveelheid welvaart wat ons het. En as ons baie welvaart het en cognitive biases, dan kan ons maar eintlik 'n bietjie aanpas. Ons kan maar 'n bietjie toegee aan ons vooroordele. As ons baie welvaart het en is emosionele biases, dan kan ons ook maar 'n bietjie daaraan toegee. En net so as ons laer welvaart het en dis emosionele vooroordele, Jaco, dan as jy min welvaart het, dan moet jy maar eenvoudig aanpas. Jy kan jou nie dan deur jou emosie laat lei nie, en dieselfde met die kognitiewe vooroordele ook. As jy weet jy het lae welvaart en baie kognitiewe vooroordele, dan moet jy gaan baie huiswerk doen.
Prof, ek dink dit is moeilik om vir mense te besluit wanneer het hulle lae vlakke van welvaart en wanneer het hulle hoog. En ek dink as ons weer een van daai boeke bespreek, dan kan ons die Millionaire Next Door konsepte daar wat ons lekker kan uitmekaar uittrek. Maar Prof, ek is seker jy het 'n boeresom vir ons luisteraars hierdie episode.
Jaco, ek wil weer 'n uitdaging rig aan ons luisteraars. Ons het nou vandag oor hierdie beleggers tipes gepraat. Gaan dink 'n bietjie hierdie week oor waar jy inpas en wat jou sterk en swak punte in daardie gebied is. En ek wil amper sê, neem dan net een besluit sodat jy jou finansiële besluite in die toekoms beter kan neem.
Okay, dit klink redelik eenvoudig, maar prof, dit is nie so maklik nie, want ons het hierdie vooroordele. So jy sit nou dalk hier en luister en dink, maar dis nie my probleem nie en ek is nie so nie. Maar ek dink dit is goeie raad. Gaan dink bietjie oor jou vooroordele, kyk wat se tipe belegger jy is en op grond daarvan maak dalk 'n aanpassing hier en daar.
Ja, en as jy die guts het en 'n baie sterk huwelik het, praat ons sommer met jou eggenoot daaroor.
Ek dink mens behoort eintlik met iemand daaroor te praat en jou eggenoot is natuurlik die beste persoon. Op daai noot, prof, lekker week vir die luisteraars.
Lekker week.